Hello and welcome back to my garden. It's been a wet weekend. It's honestly been a wet couple of weeks. If you guys remember, I was complaining about all of June being super dry, and then the beginning of July was also very super dry. But then we started getting rain, and it was a half an inch and an inch and an inch and a half, and it just seemed to keep going like this. And then last night we got, I don't know how, the water gauge says 3 inches, but I'm not sure if I emptied it the day before. So probably about an inch, inch and a half, I would safely say. So the ground is pretty wet and everything is thoroughly watered, including these seedlings and whatnot that I have sitting over here. And some of you guys may have watched that video where I did some up potting to a bunch of seedlings that I had. So I'm going to pull you guys in close now and we'll take a look at what's going on, and then we'll go find something else to do. All right, up here, this is my English lavender. You guys can probably read the labels there. They're doing pretty good. Back here, this is I've never grown catmint before, and these guys are just going bonkers, which is awesome. I love that. I've got a few dahlias here in pots. They're probably going to stay there for the rest of the year, and then next year they'll get planted out. But they're doing pretty well. They're doing pretty well. I've got a coneflower back over here. I probably should plant that out before the fall. I'll wait probably till the end of August, September, and then I'll pot that out. An unknown variety of coneflower, Thailand giant, elephant ear. That one I bought as a young seedling or root, and then it grew, and then it died, and then it grew again, and now it's growing again, and I don't know what's going on, but there it is. I've got some Gaillardia, coneflower, my agapanthus seeds. This is the second time I've tried to grow an agapanthus from seeds, and nothing. Nada, zip, zero. Followed the instructions and kept everything thoroughly moist, and nothing's growing, which is sad. Here I'm doing an experiment with a salvia that I'm currently growing, Blue Victory, and we'll see how that experiment works out. And here's another one. This one's Big Blue. This is another experiment. I'll talk more about that if that's successful or not. This is an experiment with, what is that? Verbena. Verbena, yes. You guys have taken cuttings of verbena and how you take cuttings of verbena, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always interested. And these guys right here are all my foxgloves. Some of these look a little healthier than normal, but they're all doing pretty good. Back here I have a bunch of golden ticket privet cuttings. Don't tell proven winners. Don't worry, proven winners, if you're watching this, I am not selling this. They still may be upset with me, but that's okay. And then look at this. This is Desdemona Rose. I took 2 cuttings about a week ago and I put them in perlite. Now I have grown some rose cuttings in compost before and they've done well, and then others just don't do well. And I'm going to consider this a success right now because they have not turned black with fungus or any other disease. They're looking actually pretty good. So hopefully in a few weeks they start putting on roots and we'll go from there. Speaking of thriving underneath a shade cloth, peace lilies. Most people think of them as indoor plants, and these were just little bitty cuttings or divisions from a plant that my wife had, and there they are. They're just underneath the shade cloth here. They've been thriving here on the bench, doing well. I still have I have Japanese hollies. These are all my sprinters. I have to plant a bunch of these out. I'm going to do that soon. These grasses, I actually took one of them and I did something with it recently, and I'll hopefully show you that in an upcoming video. I have various other cuttings in various other stages of growth. Some of these need to, like for instance, this guy right here. Looks like I have 3 good golden tickets right here. So I'll be taking all 3 out of the pot and putting them into individual pots to grow on. And then maybe this really big one back here, I'll plant out in the fall because that's pretty big. This isn't supposed to be a garden tour of the veg garden, but my lemon tree here is doing pretty awesome right now. I just recently had to put this rebar stake in because this branch was flopping over big time and this branch was starting to flop, and it's a fairly young plant, but it's still putting on a lot of lemons. So hopefully most, if not all of them, survive till the fall, and then I'll have a lot of lemons to be using someplace. One of the things I've been meaning to do, it's on my long list of things to do around the garden. As I've stated before, and again, many of you experienced gardeners already know this, there's always something to do in the garden, always. And so I've made a bunch of these labels, so let's go drop them around the garden now. With all the rain we've been getting lately, the grass is out of control, the weeds are out of control, everything's out of control, but I'm gonna come here into the rose garden, and right here, give you guys a good view of it. This is Blue Victory Salvia. I grew this from seed. I grew a bunch of them actually, and they grew pretty well. And right now I'm going to turn around and put a label right over here. There we go. And now I know that it's Blue Victory. Because honestly, I couldn't remember if this was Blue Victory or Big Blue. And although the plants do look distinctive, I will show you that in a second. Here is Big Blue. Big Blue is supposed to be a hardy annual. The way it's growing, who knows? And I'm also in growing zone 8B, so maybe this will survive the winter and come back next year. But either way, I'm going to put a label there so I know what it is. I'll take back the temporary plastic ones. And I can reuse these because I write on them with pencil. So I'll just erase the pencil and then I'll use them for the next thing I plant. All right, here we are on the driveway bed, and yes, again, weedy, messy. I really need to come up with an edge for this because the grasses and the weeds and whatnot are just pushing their way in. Look at these elephant ears. They've been loving all this rain and heat. They're just thriving. It's crazy. But that's not why we're here. We're here because of this guy. This is an Ever Twilight Agapanthus, and I got this plant, I don't know, a few years ago from a local garden center. And I divided it, I think it was last year, and this is one of the divisions. Normally, the first year after a division, from what I understand, they don't flower. This guy decided he wanted to flower, so flower he did. And we'll stick that right there. And again, I'll pull up the plastic ones, and life is good. These three right here are Cherry Brandy Rudbeckia. They all look pretty good, although again, they've gotten kind of beat up a little bit with the rain and all, so I'm going to come back in a little bit. Put that there. Take up the plastic labels, and I will put some supports on them. Alrighty, here in the front of the vegetable garden is a, again, weedy mess like everything else, but I have my winter gem boxwoods, and I keep forgetting the name. I got these as bare roots from Arbor Day Foundation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw a label right there. So now I can remember it's Winter Gem. Now I have 4 or 5 on each side of the gate here, and I'll show you that in a second. But there's no reason to label all of them. So there's those. And then further down over here, I have more. Really amongst the grass and the weeds, which I really gonna have to take some time to take care of. These are volunteer Mexican sunflowers, and I might rip out the smaller one just because I can, but the bigger one's already flowering and it's attracting all sorts of bees and whatnot. And I have to start doing some deadheading on this guy. All right, here we are in one of the new flower bed sections here. So there's some basil, I think it's dark opal, there's a dahlia, that is a that's a Rudbeckia. I don't know what variety might be, the Cherry Brandy. And here I have a couple of pink goblin veronicas. So I'm just gonna stick that sign there. That label's done, and we're gonna move on to the next thing. And here is another Blue Victory. So I'm just gonna put a label there. That's for that guy. I didn't mention it before, but the big difference between the Blue Victory and the Big Blue Salvia is the leaf. Notice how that one's sort of thinner, longer. And then if we go over to the Big Blue, it's shorter and rounder. And obviously the flowers are different, but I think that's an easy way of looking at the two different plants. And now I've got a bunch of different labels that I could reuse. And again, I wrote on these with pencils, so I could just simply take an eraser and erase all of them, and then use them next year. Where's my little dog? Oh, there's a little dog. There's a little dog. Little Sophie. Look at that. Sun sort of backlighting the sunflower there. It's not actually that tall. Well, it is. I mean, it's got to be at least 6 foot, but it's planted in this raised bed, so that's an extra 30 inches on top of the whatever growth that is. Like I said, probably about 6 foot. The label thing was just one of the many things that I wanted to get done. And one of the things I want to start doing today is cleaning up the front of the house beds, because like everywhere else, they're weedy, they're messy, and I'm going to show you some of the downsides to the mulch that I use. So let's go do that now. There is so much to do here, and although from a distance this looks good, this bed area and the one on the other side of the deck have quite a few issues. Nothing major, but sort of midsummer exhaustion, and one of the things that has been doing really well for me this year is the red hot pokers. And I just have to catch up on my deadheading here, and they will keep flowering right on till the frost. And I didn't know, but hummingbirds love these things. And I have been watching hummingbirds feed here at my red hot poker pretty much since they showed up in, I think it was late May, early June. Right where I'm stepping is supposed to be a bunch of lupine, and they started to grow and they started to look okay. And now I really don't, there's one kind of barely hanging in there. But in the meantime, I have these echinaceas. I don't know the variety off the top of my head, and they're going over, so I'm going to start doing some deadheading here. Some of these other ones are still looking a bit sketch, but I really don't want to chop out all the flowers. The black-eyed Susan behind it looks okay. Calendula so-so. One of the problems I have with the mulch that I'm currently using, which is pine bark, and if you guys remember, when I first started gardening in this garden, I was using a hardwood bark mulch, but that mulch was shredded, and so it would get very compacted, and then it would allow things to grow into it. Whereas here, the pine bark does not allow things to grow into it, but unfortunately, it covers up, because it floats, all my stones here. So I'm just going to take them, lift them up, pull some of the mulch underneath, relay the stone. For the short term, it'll look nicer. So this is the bed on the other side of the deck, and as you can see, it's looking a bit ratty. So I'm going to come through and give it a quick cleanup. So while it still looks like a bit of a hot mess, I pulled out a lot of vines, a lot of thorny vines, and a bunch of grasses. In fact, there's still a grass. Hold on. More grasses. And I am pulling out some of the twilight evening primrose, but that stuff grows like a weed, so it'll bounce back. Oh, and there's a red echinacea. I'm sorry, not echinacea, carnation. It's a red carnation. And here's my regular carnations. And here's proof that I did weeding. I haven't cut back the sea holly. Now I don't know if the sea holly will reflush come the fall, but as long as it survives till next year, I'll be happy. Okay, it's the next day, or the beginning of this video. It was filmed on Saturday. This is Sunday now. You saw me clean up the bed right here behind me, and now I've got yet more labels to label more plants, and I'm going to label some of the hostas that I have here up on the deck. If you watched the channel a few months ago, I dug up a lot of my hostas and I potted them up and I brought them up onto the deck to keep away from the deer. This has worked so far. I will not be surprised at all if one day the deer get very brave and they wind up walking up the stairs to the deck here and start eating my hostas. But for now, my hostas are still alive and they're hanging in there. I just have to be careful with the watering. Got to keep making sure they got water in the pots, make sure the soil's moist. But so far so good, they're doing well. Let's go take a look and I'll show you which ones I'm labeling. So this first one, I believe is Bedazzled. At least that's what the label over there says. I don't know if the camera's gonna focus. So we're just gonna drop that right there, get rid of that label. There we go. That's Bedazzled Hosta. Looking a little crunchy. Let's test that soil. It's getting a little dry. All right, I'm gonna put that on my to-do list for tomorrow. And this guy right here is Stained Glass. Now, both of these I bought, I believe, as very small plants. And I think I got them from Holland Bulbs. Not sponsored. Just getting to get rid of some of these little weed seedlings here. I don't know what's going on there. But the hosta looks pretty good. All right, next one. And this one is the last one. This is Blue Mouse Ears. Strange name, but again, small. It's supposed to be a small variety. Let me stick my finger. This one feels a little moist. I think the other one's getting a little more sun, but I'll probably come around tomorrow morning and give all of these water. Let's take a wider look at what I have. That one's Sum and Substance, Empress Wu. That one is Patriot. This one is Filigree. Yes, it looks a little rough, I know. And I just showed you Stained Glass and Bedazzled, and then I have two potted up Coleus, Pinto Mix, so they're a smaller variety. And here are my three Garas, and I couldn't remember what variety they were. They are actually whirling butterflies, so there's a label for them. I recently cut them back. They were about, say 3 foot tall, but the flowering stems had dried up. They were done flowering, so I cut them back. With all the rain, they seem to be putting on some new growth, which is pretty exciting. That's better than some of my other plants, which we're not going to talk about right now. But I do have to label one more plant while we're here, and this is Licorice White Agastache. I've got this one, that one in the middle didn't make it, but they're right behind the Big Blue Salvia and the Blue Victory Salvia that I have here, and I talked about that yesterday, I think. And yeah, they're all doing pretty well. So hopefully, probably not this year, but next year when hopefully all this reflushes and regrows, I'll have nice tall Licorice White, and then the Blue Victory and the Blue Salvia just filling out this whole little space right here. That's the theory, that's the hope, that's the plan. Let's head back towards the greenhouse. So, I did some deadheading, I did some weeding, and I put out a bunch of labels. No big projects, but there's always something to do in the garden, and there's a lot of little things that always need to get done. Hopefully, the end of this week, yes, Friday, hopefully Friday, I have a nice bigger project to do, because I do have various larger size projects to do. So hopefully Friday I have something more exciting than me walking around and putting out plant labels and weeding and whatnot. One of the other things I've been doing, which has prevented me from doing any bigger projects recently, is trying to catch up on my mowing. Because we've had so much rain, I haven't been able to mow because I can't mow wet grass. Gotta wait for it to dry somewhat, then I can mow it. And that's taken some time. I did manage to get portions of the Grand Walkway. I actually got the whole Grand Walkway mowed today. And I got part of the, actually I got the whole flower garden mowed, the inside at least. And hopefully later in this week, if it doesn't rain, I can do the orchard and down by the future shade garden. And I also did the rose garden, got that done, very important. And and the veg garden, God, the veg garden is, it's like a jungle in here right now. The grass here is so tall, out of control. It's best to see here around the stones. So all that has to be done. And I will get to it again, hopefully before the rain or after the rain. It will get done sooner or later. Hopefully I have some very big news coming up on Friday. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video. This way you can find out what the big news may be or is. So what shall be, what is shall be. So I'm tired, it's hot. Oh, thank you again for all the subscribers. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out all those links below. And I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.